Hello everyone, and welcome back to Whisky Wednesday. Unusual one today. I haven't reviewed something that wasn't a bourbon or a Scotch or an Irish whiskey for quite a long time. I know last week we reviewed a cognac, but that's a little bit out of the ballpark from the ordinary for us. This week, however, I'm going back to India. Now, I have been guilty of being a little bit of an Amrut fanboy. And there's nothing wrong with that, because Amrut make fantastic whiskey. No one would deny that. But I realised the other day that I have tried Paul John, but I don't remember what it tasted like, because I'd always tried it at a festival. And I'm quite sensible at festivals. I try and walk around and see what I want to try, and then just try like some sporadic things like single casks and like independent bottlers and stuff before I kind of call it a night. But I tried Paul John at a few festivals. Remember liking it, but don't remember much about it. What we've got here is the edited, which comes in at 46%, natural colour, all the good stuff. Comes in this rather fetching kind of brown-red tube. Slightly peated, very delicately peated. It's been sat in a glass for about half an hour, and the nose on it is genuinely incredible. But we reviewed Amrut years ago. I've not reviewed an Amrut since we used to film this stuff at the Whiskey Jar, which was a long time ago. So, brief backstory of Paul John. Started up in 1992 distilling molasses whiskey, which many Indian distilleries have done. They're based in Goa. Very tropical, luscious beaches, all that kind of thing. And I would say the range from both a retail perspective and a consumer perspective comes across as slightly confusing, personally to me, because instead of just saying this one's peated, or this one's sherry cask, or this one's whatever, they're called the brilliance and the excellence and the edited, which are good words, but I think more could be explained as to why, because it takes a lot of intensity to call your whiskey brilliance. I've only used that word. Oh no, I've used the word brilliant a few times. I've only used the word perfect once. I digress. They picked up numerous awards. They are loved by many, and this is my first ever bottle. It was only 40 quid? Yeah, £40. And I thought to myself, kind of good to try this. I'm lucky enough to have batch number 1, which was distilled January 3rd, 2019, before the world went terrible. And yeah, we're just going to dip into it. We're going to try it. I'd be very intrigued to hear all your thoughts below about Indian whiskey. Rampur is something that I really want to try as well. They've been getting some beautiful reviews. I was chatting to a guy the other week who said he tried a Rampur which tasted just like Turkish Delight. That got me interested, because that rosewater smell for me is very alluring. I'm just going to move my phone off the desk, because if it goes off it'll be very loud. Put that there. Paul John edited. Smells, tastes. I've just been watching a video by John Drinks. In fact, it's still on, just there. Well, it's frozen. Not very flattering frozen screen, but nonetheless, I love John at John Drinks. He does some amazing things. And he was just talking about the idea of cerebral whiskey. Some whiskies take a lot of time to think about, some don't. The nose on this, I would say, is quite cerebral, because there is a fair bit going on with it. Up front, there's quite a lot of oak, but it's kind of scented, like scented wood. Like if you were to buy like a candle that was meant to smell like oak, or some sort of wood. And there's also a little bit of new make spirit, and it reminds me a little bit of Bruichladdich new make spirit, when it can be a little bit butyric, which is a thing that can put people very much in love with it or very much against it, because it's one of those smells which people can be quite aversive or not a fan of. That was a bad sentence. It's a smell that some people don't like, essentially. But beyond that, it's just full of these luscious like ex-bourbon cask stuff. It's pineapple and blackcurrant. What did I get in it before? I don't drink cider. I'm not a fan of cider. Just it's a bit too tart for me. There is a tart, sour, tangy green apple note running through this. And the smoke thing is quite far away. It says on the front of the tube, single malt whiskey with a hint of smoke. Oh, with a hint of peat, I should say. But the peat comes across as almost like chocolatey. I know that's not a word really associated with peated whiskey, but it comes across in this floral, again quite scented way. It isn't Lafroig and it's not Ardbeg, so if you're into those kind of whiskies and are exclusively into those kind of whiskies, this probably isn't the thing for you. It is much more delicate, so maybe it's worth a try anyway. But let's taste it. Okay, so this leads the way in two ways. One is spice. Yes, this is the first whiskey I've tried today, so that might be in the way. Two, I've also discovered that I've got a small cut on my lip here because some of the whiskey's just gone into it. But it does lead the way with quite a bit of spice. It's toasty, slightly bitter, in a nice way. The other thing is that sourness I was talking about, but it's like tropical fruit tanginess and sourness. It's not off-putting. It's not like rancid or anything like that. It's quite a welcome sourness, and it really contrasts the spice. And it is those bright green apples, like, you know, tangy apple sweets. That's what this thing is full of. That little hint of peat, it is kind of rushing its way around the back of my palate right now. Again, it just reminds me of chocolate. And almost like the creaminess of a stout, like a Guinness. I can't think of any of the stouts, not really a beer guy. Yeah, creamy, gently smoky, chocolatey finish. Weirdly enough, even though it's made out of barley, there is a nice oatiness to it. Not oakiness, but oatiness, like porridge oats. Again, just kind of backing up that creamy thing. It's really good. I'm kind of annoyed I waited so long to get into Paul John. But this is very tasty. Let's see if we can do like the full in focus on the bottle. There we go. There's quite a lot of info on the back. That writing is far too small, but yeah, there's a good bit of info on there. Weirdly enough, and it must be done in, I've only just noticed this, on the back of it, it says 46% alcohol or 80.56 proof, which is a bit bizarre. So they must be doing that in the old sort of Navy British Empire method of that, which is quite interesting in itself. That's a really nice whiskey. It is honestly as nice as some of the Ardnamurcans I've tried, but a little bit richer in the sense that it's got an added creaminess to it. The Ardnamurcan has more smoke, and it has that really nice mix of like mineraliness and kind of fresh citrus, and it really gets my senses going. This seems like it's bassier. There's a bit more going on down below. It's got a bit more grunt to it. For some reason, the only analogy popping into my head is, or simile, I should say, the only simile coming into my head is that it's kind of like a V8 engine. It's got a bit more to it, you know? Please no one select that sound clip and do anything with it. That's lovely. I'm going to give that an 8. I think that's really nice. If anyone has more experience with Paul John whiskey, could you just put below what is the brilliance, what is the excellence? I could literally just Google it, but I think to put it in a comment section would be much more interesting. Yeah, thank you all for watching. I've still got a very squeaky chair, That is Poor John edited. We're still in my little office, and I will see you all next week. Cheers.